Look up the word crazy in the dictionary and you might just find an asterisk beside the definition that says, listen to the Subiquitous podcast featuring Sue Duffield and you'll find out what crazy means. Sue's travelogue journey of unfiltered stories, impossible miracles, and faith-filled fun will be revisited right here. So buckle up and let's get going with this humorous travelogue of an unfiltered saint, Subiquitous.
Welcome to episode number 57, Dad Talk. It's Dad's Week. It's all about the dad. It's all about the dad. It's all about fathers. And I had a pretty awesome one. I really did. And for those of you that know my history and those of you that have known me a long time, many people will tell me that the apple doesn't far from the tree or fall far from the tree or whatever that idiom is. Yes, Jeffrey, I hear you laughing in the background. It's true.
I mean, the apple does not fall far from the tree.
What did I say? The apple doesn't
we'll have to
fall
go back
from
and
the
listen
tree?
something like that. Yeah. And,
yeah.
You know, in your case, maybe that was true.
Well, and then, a few years ago, you and Annie both laughed at me when I was at the Division of Motor Vehicles.
It was funny. We did laugh
yes,
at you.
Yes, you did. You
we
laughed because I was channeling my father.
No, you were just, it was just, you didn't intentionally do it. It was just the genetic reaction that you just, it just was something he would do.
Well, they called my name.
Yes,
I had just walked up to the podium, correct?
Yeah.
Didn't I talk?
No, you had gotten up off the chair where we were all sitting waiting to walk to the restroom.
To renew our license.
Well, no, you didn't renew your license in the restroom. You were going to the restroom while we were waiting to renew our license.
Dr. Black and White.
Well, you give a false impression, sisters.
Well,
Sister
I said
Big
we were
Picture.
at the Division of Motor Vehicles.
You were walking to the restroom, which was a right angle away from where the front desk was.
That's
and they called
correct.
your name over the public address system.
They did.
And you had this little lurch. I don't know how to describe it. You just have to see it, and it's just a little lurch forward and sideways, and you immediately pivoted to go.
I made a complete.
And it was
pivot.
just a move, a physical move that your father had done hundreds of times. And it's just not like I was imagining it, because Annie sat right next to me and she started laughing right along with me, and she saw it as well.
There's no respect in this family.
Now that's your father.
I'm channeling him. I told you.
You're definitely channeling him.
You just can't make a mistake around here.
There you go. There's another one.
That's right.
Why does everybody have to be right? Or what was the other one?
Why does he had his own
30,000 comedians out of work.
30,000 comedians out of work, and we get away with this or whatever it was.
Whatever.
I don't know what it is.
He had many sooths, he would say.
Yeah, many sayings. And we should probably one day collect all of the little sayings and put it in a booklet.
And I guess we all do. My father had his.
Yes, he did.
It was most famous.
They weren't as funny, though. I mean,
what?
Your dad was more cerebral in his humor.
Sarcastic would be
that would be.
You ask more questions than a Philadelphia lawyer.
Yes.
Why does your mother keep ducks?
No, I know. And I never understood that one either.
Well, it was meant to be a rhetorical, sarcastic, inane statement.
I know, but see, for someone who was black and white like you
would ask. Oh, definitely.
But you get
would
sarcasm.
Ask him.
That's what's so funny.
You would ask him a silly, impertinent question.
Yeah.
Of why is the asphalt on the highway black?
Or why is it hot?
Why does your mother keep ducks?
Yeah,
there is no
stupid.
answer.
It's stupid. So anyway, let me ask you this though, Jeffrey.
Yes.
We did. Both of us had some pretty awesome fathers.
We did.
We really did.
Yes, we did.
But before we get into that, I had a couple of things I found on the internet, or the internets as we call it.
Yes.
Some quotes.
Mm-hmm.
Sinbad. Remember he was a great comedian. Is a great comedian. I think he's still with us.
Yeah, he's still with us.
He said the worst thing that can happen to a man is his wife comes home and he's lost the child. And the wife says, "How did everything go?" He said, "Well, I have a great response. Great, we're playing hide and seek, and he's winning."
Yeah, I don't think I would have ever tried that with you.
Mm-mm. I know, but you were a good dad too.
Well,
you are.
I try.
Well, another quote which I thought was funny. My kids are always accusing me of having a favorite child, which is ridiculous. I don't like any of them. Frank Barone. That was that's got to be one of my favorite TV dads of all time.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My wife thinks I'm in the bathroom.
That's
I
right.
left my heart.
That's right.
It's a great.
Now,
that's
isn't
a great
the
piece.
truth? And let's just say it. We've
Frank
said it before.
Barone. Let's just say this: when you mentioned Frank Barone, my father was the closest thing on this earth to Frank Barone.
Listen, we've talked about that on another episode about your mother seriously being Marie Barone.
Oh,
but
yes.
we've never really totally divulged.
Yes.
See, I'm making up new words again.
Yeah.
Divulged the information.
And that was your father, too.
Well, that was
He
my
would
dad. He'd make
his
up
own
words along the way. Yeah.
Yes. We're going to hug a few necks, speak a few words,
and go our separate ways. Whatever that meant. That's what he'd say.
He said that.
I know he did.
In a church service.
But Frank Barone was seriously your father.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's no doubt.
It's
Holy
like
crap.
they went to Maryland and they said, we're going to write a script for a new show.
Yes.
And we need to have someone
There's
as a
this guy
prototype.
named George.
As Frank Barone.
He'll fit. This'll do. My father wore out belt buckles, just undoing them so he could sit and watch television.
That's right.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so did Frank.
I know. It's just funny stuff.
Among
right?
other things. Holy crap.
I know.
And the infamous, where's your mother?
Where's your mother? That's right.
I wish I had $1 for every time I heard
know.
that statement in my life.
I know. Well, there's another comedian. Her name is Tyra Lee Smith. I don't know if you've heard of her or not, but
I think that's a new one to me.
Yeah, she's a new young comedian, and she said, I love my dad, and even though he has dementia now, he remembers the important things. He can't remember my name, but last week he told me exactly how much money I owe him. I said, doesn't that sound like a Fred Link moment?
Sounds like my father.
My grandfather was that way. He wouldn't remember your name, but he could remember the little details of stuff. Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Definitely.
Oh, my. So Jim Gaffigan says this, another comedian we love. There should be a children's song, if you're happy and you know it, keep it to yourself and let your dad sleep.
Yes. Yes. Well, your brother.
My poor father.
Your brother never had it.
Work.
Your brother did not understand that concept. You had an older bungalow home that you grew up in,
that's right.
and the door was rather, I don't want to say loose, but it was worn.
Do you know that house square footage was smaller than the apartment that we're in right now? And we had
That's scary.
4 of us growing up in that.
That's scary.
One little tiny bathroom that you
but
couldn't even turn
are you
around
counting
in.
the square footage of the downstairs and the upstairs?
Oh yeah, it was like $890 or something if I remember when they listed it. Yeah, crazy.
That's crazy. But anyway, your brother invariably, every day even, would come home from school, and he just had.
After my dad would work all night.
Your dad would be working in a late shifts, which meant he got off work at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yes, just in time for us to leave to go to school.
And he would run errands.
Right.
He wouldn't go right to bed.
No,
he would
'cause he
run
said he was
errands
too
and do
geared. He
whatever,
couldn't go
and
to
then
sleep
he'd
right
go to
away.
bed like 11 or 12 o'clock in the day.
That's right.
Which meant by 2:30, 3 o'clock, when your brother arrived home from school, he was in a dead sleep.
He was in la
and
land.
your brother would walk in and open that door, and just fling it backwards, not trying to be mean or anything. He just wouldn't think.
Yes.
And he just swing the door backwards and bam, and of course it shook the entire house.
Yeah.
And you could almost hear your father levitating out of that bed. Which about 30 seconds later, he'd stumble out of the bedroom in a coma, almost a coma, and be ready to tear your brother's head off. And you would think.
You would think, yeah, he would understand.
He would have picked up like once or twice on that. What?
No.
Oh,
well, one of my favorite stories about your father. You see, for our listening audience, they need to know that I have been part of your family since I was 12 years old.
Yes, you have.
And
in one form or the other.
And when you think about it, I've only not known you for 12 years out of our 66 years. This is weird.
That goes to equal since you've known us since you were 12.
So, anyway, but I remember one weekend, we were in high school, and your mom and dad invited me to spend the night, and I spent the night there, and I was there in time for church on a Sunday morning. And
I know where this is going.
I mean, I knew your dad had false teeth. I did know that.
Okay, yeah.
But I hadn't seen him without false teeth.
And it was an experience.
It was an experience to So here he comes. He's mad at us because we're sitting at the table, just kind of fooling around, and
we were not in a hurry to get dressed for church.
No, we were not in a hurry for Sunday school. We were not.
No,
That's
we
right.
weren't. And he was the Sunday school superintendent.
And the unpardonable sin would have been if we were late for Sunday school. So
that couldn't happen.
No. So anyway, he comes around the corner, and I still can visually see this. First of all, he has his light blue boxers on.
Yes, he did.
And he had
which was interesting because my father was a very private man.
I was shocked.
For him to come out there in his boxer
shorts. Well, he was mad. He was really mad.
And I guess he forgot you were there.
He forgot I was there, I think. And because he said, Jeffrey, like that, with his teeth not there.
Right.
And he's itching his back. This is how the Duffields do this thing. They itch their backs by, at least George did.
He did.
He itches his back. He had a T-shirt on, one of those V-neck T-shirts. And he's itching his back by just
grabbing the
back of the shirt and going up and down, up and down, up and down, like that. And
which is totally useless to me.
Just pick out a corner on a wall, and rub it against the wall.
Exactly.
That's what you do too.
Exactly.
So anyway, he comes around the corner, and this is what he tries to say.
Sans teeth.
Right. No teeth.
No teeth.
And he's mad, and his eyeballs are bugging out.
That they were.
And he said, Jeffrey, you getting ready for funny fool? And I'm telling you, I lost it because I know he was trying to say Sunday school, but what I heard was
that's what he thought he said.
Jeffrey, you ready for funny fool? And so for the next 60 years, not quite, but maybe 45
to the day my
years.
my mother went to heaven.
Right.
Whenever she got the opportunity or have felt the need to pick on my father.
Do your thing that George does when he itched his back and he was mad at
tell him when George wanted to go to Sunday school, Jeffrey.
Ready for funny fool? Yeah.
And she had her teeth, so she couldn't do it like
and
he
I
could
love it because I would let her, she'd laugh so hard she'd wet her pants.
Oh, and he'd give you a look.
They were lovely, lovely things. Lovely things. Now I remember an experience a response to my father one time that you had. We're sitting around my mother's living room, and we're just goofing off when there's another couple that is friends of ours, and we're just sitting there.
On a Sunday
and my
night.
mother starts pontificating.
No, your mother was ordering.
Oh, yeah.
She was placing an order. It was a useless order, but she was placing it nonetheless. Because the one thing that your father hated in his entire life
is to work on the weekends.
Well, yeah.
And to do any updates in the house.
Yeah. Anything to do with remodeling, refinishing, reconstituting, fixing, repairing.
Let's just get in the motorhome and go away. That's
exactly. In your house.
But
anything
I want
to do
you to
with
say,
fun.
I want you to say what you said.
Well,
no, wait. Let me, because I want to say this part, and I want you to say, because he's sitting there, and he's listening to my mother go, we're going to do work.
Yeah, we're supposed to have off.
And
and
this
we're
Saturday,
paint, and we're going to do
Saturday,
this, and we're going to clean, and we're going to work. And
we're going to do work, and we're going to do that. Nobody says anything. And my father's sitting there mumbling under his breath, and he says, the only Saturday I get is a Saturday.
No, you're not. You see, Miss, I'm going to have to play
miss
literal on you again.
Oh,
You're
right,
missing
whatever.
it.
Okay,
he said, he says, no, we're not. No, I got things to do.
Oh, that's right. I got things to do.
Which was translated meant play.
Yeah.
But he said, I got things to do, and there's not going to be any painting and fixing up. And then he progressed to sitting on the couch with his mumbling to himself. Yeah, the only Saturday I get's a Saturday.
That's right.
Yeah, because those
then
days,
your
that was his
response
off
was,
day.
which we have this on video.
We do have
and
on video.
Your response killed me. I had to walk out of the room. Your response was, remember what it is?
Yeah, he only gets a Saturday. I mean, the only Saturday he gets is a Saturday. And how did he get 2 Saturdays? Something like that.
Oh, see, you don't even remember.
Okay,
what you
now
said.
what was it? What did I say?
I don't remember
the good
either.
stuff.
I was hoping you would remember.
Oh, okay.
No, but he said he only gets 1. The rest of us we get 4 or something like that.
No, it was the exact opposite.
Whatever.
He made it sound like he had 2 Saturdays, and I said,
only Saturday
"How's he
I get
get
is
2? Yeah, how's he get 2? I
well,
only
what
get
he
1.
meant to say was the only day off I get.
That's
is a
what
Saturday.
he was trying to say.
Right.
Yes, and he didn't want to waste it doing home improvements.
That's right. That's why the only Saturday I get is a Saturday. Oh my!
Your mother's house and roof leaked for years.
Yeah.
It had a spot in the kitchen that they could never allegedly get it fixed. And
they'd always have these fly-by-night guys driving by. I'll fix it for you for
as your father would
$37.
say, your father would say flunkies with a plastic sign on their door.
I know.
And your father goes to heaven, and it wasn't a month
No,
later.
Maybe.
Yeah.
My mother, man, she
as the
wrote
as the estate
check.
was being settled and insurance money came in, and your mother found out actually how much money she had.
Yeah.
When all of that showed up, she called me on the phone one day and she said,
I'm
thinking of getting the roof redone.
And we said,
and what do you think? And I
the
said,
only Saturday you get is a Saturday.
yeah. And I said to her, well, how much is it going to cost? And she told me, and I said, do you have the money? Oh, yes, I have the money. Almost indignantly.
Right.
I said, you've got the money. Do you want to get it done? And she said, yes. I said, call the guy and get it done.
Yeah.
I said, because if you don't spend your money, someday your daughter and I will.
That's right.
So go ahead and enjoy yourself on your money. And that's
That's
exactly what she did. She put a brand new roof. And guess what?
Yeah.
The roof stopped leaking.
I know. It's an amazing concept.
Oh, but you're tennis, golf, hunting, fishing.
You learned it all.
Riding motorcycles.
Yeah.
Oh, your family belonged to the Vacation of the Week Club. Our family, if we were lucky if we got a week a year, but your father and mother looked for opportunities, and I'm not being critical.
No, you're not.
I have learned in my old age there was a lot to be said for your mother and father's viewpoint on life.
I know.
Very
I
much
think that's
so.
what kept them together. Truthfully, because they both really like to play. They love the beach.
Oh, yeah.
And we talk
Oh,
about
I don't
that.
know that that's what kept them together.
No,
Your
but
mother and
I
father
know.
loved each other.
Yeah.
There was no doubt about that. They didn't need a separate stimulus to keep them
Well,
together.
the direction I want to go with this dad talk today
Yes.
on episode 57, Jeffrey,
Yes.
is yes, we have funny stories
Yes,
and
we have no
amazing,
bananas.
crazy stories of your father. And I worked with him in the Acme stores with Storecast merchandising.
The
merchandising, I should say.
greatest story of my father is that he always wanted to be an electrician.
Yeah.
And he never followed through on it for various sundry reasons.
Right.
But we came many, many years ago and built our own home.
Right.
And in an effort to save money, he said, well, we'll do the electric ourselves.
Which was wonderful. I mean,
And
we saved a lot of money.
99%,
However,
0.5% of the electric in the house worked perfectly.
However.
From the first day we turned it on till the day we moved out.
and we were very appreciative.
However,
Yes.
there was one place we had a switch at the top of the
We may
stairs
have
going
talked
to
about
the.
this
We may
before.
have
Yeah.
going down to the basement,
Right.
And it was a switch just for the light in the stairwell going downstairs, so you could. So at least it was supposed to be a light switch for just the stairwell light. But we also had in corners of the house floodlights outside to illuminate our acre.
Eliminate. See,
eliminate.
you got my disease.
Yes, I do. All of our woods, in
Right.
case someone would have tried to attack us in the middle of the night, we could at least put a light on.
Like a squirrel or
Yeah,
a snake.
yeah, exactly. And somehow we never figured out. It even got past the electrical inspection.
That every time we turned that light on, the
It would
outside
turn
lights would
the
come
light
on.
in the
Right.
stairway would be on, but also would the floodlights.
I know.
And you could always drive up to our home and tell if anybody was down in the basement in the middle of the
Well,
day.
Jeff's working
because the
downstairs.
outdoor
That's
lights were
right.
on.
That's
yes.
right. Well,
And
what I
we
would
never
say-
let him forget that.
Right.
Of course, his response was, "We didn't pay a whole lot for it." Typical South Philly response.
Well, and you know what? Didn't we laugh though when we sold that house and a couple of years later, we drive by during the
And
day
the
and
lights
that
are
light
still
is
on.
outside, is still on. Oh well. Anyway,
Okay, we're cracking
where I
ourselves
want to
up.
go with this
Go
today?
ahead, go
yes,
on,
we
go
have.
ahead.
We had two amazing dads. Thank God they loved the Lord.
Yes.
And thank God that they loved their families.
Yes.
They really did.
Yes, they
It
did.
was unique in how they did it.
Yep.
My father was much more outspoken, maybe. Your dad did it in ways of, all right, if you needed money for something or you needed, hey, listen.
That was how my father showed
That's
love.
exactly right.
Yeah,
and there was
yeah.
nothing wrong with that. They were always, I'm going to tell you something.
It wasn't verbal.
This is what I appreciate about you as a dad also, is that you've always been there for your kids. And I think you've learned that not only from your own father, but by my father, since
Yeah.
you've known him since you were 12, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So we've learned a lot of great stories.
Right.
And in Scripture, truthfully, we talk about some great fathers in Scripture. And most of them, it seems like they're all in the Old Testament, like Moses and Noah and Adam, popular father roles in the Old Testament.
Well, we know they didn't stop having fathers in the New Testament, but nonetheless.
But except for maybe Joseph, in the New Testament.
Understand.
There is one dad in Scripture, both in Luke and in Mark chapter 5, that stands out. And I'll tell you what it is. This is a man who was a synagogue leader who ran for his daughter's healing. And that's where I'm going to go with it.
Okay.
But before we do that, let me just say, you can listen to the Subiquitous podcast. And if you're listening right now, obviously you're listening either on Libsyn or Apple Podcast or Spotify or LinkedIn, or you're listening also on YouTube, whatever you're doing. But we so appreciate you getting on patreon.com/Sue Duffield. This is a way that we can kind of stand together and stay in touch with each other and be a part of this ministry and be a part of our podcast worldwide. We've had some really, really amazing stories behind the scenes of how we're reaching a unique audience, an audience that needs to laugh and an audience that needs encouragement at the same time, a seasoned audience, which is okay because we are seasoned saints. But by joining our Patreon club, as we want to call it, as little as $5, $10, $25, $35, even $100 a month, we have several that have been helping us through this podcast, and we are just blessed by you. So anyway, we're going to talk a little bit.
Before you do your Scripture story,
yes,
just let me throw one more little story in there.
Okay.
Of your father and I, and your father and my father and the two of us. We went to sing at a little rural South Jersey church. Your dad and my dad had to go with us because they had to drive. We were not able to even drive a car.
We were like only 15 or something like that, right? Wasn't it 15?
Yeah, 15, 16 at most. I mean, neither one of us had a driver's license.
Right,
so your father drove you over from your town to our home because it was closer to our place.
Yeah.
The four of us got in the car and drove to the church. It was like a Friday night youth service. Okay. And there was all of 6 or 8 people there. And that's counting you and me and my father. And there may have been
very funny at the time, but yeah, I
thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
The sarcasm. Anyway,
right.
The youth leader, in all seriousness, sees 2 adult male gentlemen sitting at the back. They were just, in the back watching us sing and all. And so he had no idea who they were, so he tried to introduce himself. So he went over there and said, "Hey, my name's Les, and what's your name?" And my father, in his sarcasm, said, "I'm Gunga Din," and pointing to your father and said, "This is my elephant." And that guy looked at my father like, "Huh?" And if you don't know the story,
I know.
Get on the internet and look up the story of Gunga Din.
Though.
It'll all make sense.
Yeah. Well,
now you're
well,
making.
No, I just want to. You can, and please hang with me here.
I'm not leaving.
Don't go anywhere.
I never do. You've done. This is our 57th podcast.
57th episode.
And
correct.
every time you've done one of these podcasts,
you
I
never leave
sit
me
here
or
in my
forsake
producer's
me.
chair.
That's right.
And I don't move until you say we're done.
That's right.
Yes.
Because I'm still in charge.
And I'm not about to change now, so I'm right here.
So if I was channeling my father, I would say, "Are you kidding me?" Yeah, but actually, the truth is, we both come from an amazing legacy of dads that were fully present for their kids, and I really do believe that. I am saying, if you're listening to this episode and maybe you're a new dad, maybe you're a grandpop, I don't know, but being fully present for your grandkids and fully present for your kids is the greatest gift of all. And it doesn't, it comes and goes. They're going to go through seasons of growth. They're going to go through maturity, different kinds of ways. And they're going to, one day the phone is going to ring off the wall. And then the next day it's going to be very silent. So yes, being a dad, I'm sure, is got to be both rewarding and tough at the same time on learning how to let go. But I was reading about Jairus, and the reason he jumped out so much in Scripture to me, it says, I gave him this title. He not only was a ruler of the synagogue in Capernaum, but man, he was running for the healing of his daughter. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, Jeff, that your dad and my dad would have done everything in the world for our healing.
Oh, yeah.
And they would have gone the extra mile. You talk about, this is a great story for Father's Day. And by the way, may I say to you, I'm a pretty good Father's Day speaker.
Yes, you are.
I have done this like 4 times on Father's Day.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I can see the men in the audience going, oh, no, I got a woman speaker for Father's Day.
Mm-hmm.
But by the end, when the altars have been packed out with men raising their hands saying, Lord, help me to be what I need to be, I think I gave them a good perspective on being my father's first son. And how, I learned so much from my dad and how much to laugh and to love. But Jairus tells me all I need to know about him as a character and him as a personality and him as not only a leader of his congregation in Capernaum, but a lover of his daughter, his one and only daughter, it says in Scripture. Jairus, not only being a religious leader, he was probably kind of afraid. His only daughter is laying on bed, sick and dying, and he doesn't know what to do for her. And then he heard that Jesus had come into the town, and as fast as his feet could take him, he saw Jesus and fell down at his feet. Now imagine for a moment that this is you or me, Jeff, and how we would be feeling and what we would be thinking at a time like this.
Sure.
When all else fails, and we've been in scenarios with our own children and our own grandchildren, for that matter, where we have fallen on our face and said, God, it's totally up to you. It really is it's a miracle in waiting, Mm-hmm. And so in a time when people would be blaming God or in such a state of mental distress and sadness that they wouldn't even be able to think, Jairus was determined to do everything possible to save his little girl. I love that. What a great Father's Day week message, right?
Yep.
So he didn't give up hope, and he ran to Jesus, and, notice the confidence that he had when he spoke to the Lord. He said, come lay your hands on her so she can be healed and live. That's confidence.
Right.
That's knowing the power of Scripture. That's knowing the power of the Yeshua HaMashiach, that there in front of him is the living, breathing Christ. And so he says, come, Jesus, and if you'll lay your hands on her, I know she'll be healed. Wow. Now, some might say that this was a final act of desperation, but I'm telling you, this man had confidence. And if Jesus came, he said it, my daughter would be healed. So what kind of faith do you think you have today? Well, James tells us, too, to ask God in faith without doubting, and he will hear our prayers. And how many can say, I'm not confident that God will answer my prayer? I hear this a lot. We say rote prayers, or we say prayers that, that we've been saying for 50 years, and we're not even sure that we even understand them, let alone believe them. But Jesus gave a parable about the need to be persistent in our prayers and to never, ever, ever give up. So the healing of Jairus' daughter in Mark chapter 5, 21 through 43, really kind of describes the relentlessness of a dad who cares deeply for his offspring. Every time I read this, I just get such joy and power, because there's kind of a couple of things that we need to see here. In the middle of Mark chapter 5, you've got a couple of things going on. You have Jesus, who is walking through a massive crowd, and suddenly a woman lunges out and touches the talit, as they say, and she grabs the prayer shawl of Jesus, and she grabs a specific part of the tassel, which anyone who studies the talit will know that the tassel is like an example of the 613 commandments of God. And within that tassel, part of the commandments are that you shall be healed. And so when Jesus said, who is touching me? The disciples looked around at each other and said, are you crazy, Jesus, for crying out loud? Everybody's touching you. I mean, can you see it? Everybody's touching you. And this woman fell down at his feet and confessed her whole plan and what she had done. But you know what Jesus did not do? He did not reprimand her. In fact, he praised her for her faith. And it's because of her confidence that she was healed. Wow. But then I thought about this, and I heard this by a Jewish rabbi friend of ours, Jeff, Dale Cohen. Mm-hmm. And I remember him telling this story from Mark chapter 5. And Dale Cohen is a Messianic Jew. And when you hear him speak Scripture and bring in the Hebrew of what it really means, boy, does it just open your eyes. he said, this woman is such an inspiration of this particular story, but she's not the story. And I kept thinking to myself that day in Elkton when Dale Cohen was speaking, I thought, what does he mean by, we focus so much on the woman grabbing the crespidon of the tallit. You know, we've focused on that being the story. And Dale says that was just the beginning. That's not the story. Jairus is really the story of a wonderful, faith-believing congregational leader who more than likely, because he was Jewish, more than likely, this is what they did back in the day, Jeff, and they would wrap their babies and wrap their children in a prayer cloth or the tallit if they were sick.
Mm-hmm.
Jairus is running to Jesus to get his attention, and there are a couple of commentaries out there that say that more than likely Jairus was running without his prayer shawl, because his prayer shawl would hinder his running. And not only that, it was probably wrapped around the child. And it's interesting because Jesus stops and asks the question after he said, "Who touched me?" And he realizes that this woman has touched not him personally, but has touched the tallit. At the same time that this woman is touching him, Jairus rushes in on the scene, more than likely with a child back at his home, wrapped in the tallit. It's like the tallit is the story here. And when God doesn't answer prayers immediately, how many of us been this way? We apparently, we say things like, God doesn't care about me, or, he's not paying attention, or why couldn't it be more definitive? Couldn't I have had more answers? Well, at that point, Jairus has no answer. And that woman at that point in her lunge of faith has no answer. But immediately all Jesus has to say is, your faith has made you well. And so after they began again to head towards the dying girl, some people came from Jairus' house and said, you know what, forget it. She's dead. There's no need to bother Jesus anymore. And one thing we might mention here is that Jairus did not make it a secret that he went to seek Jesus. Those from his house knew where to find him and who would be with him. And Jairus could have gotten upset with Jesus for taking so long. Remember when Mary and Martha, Jeff, got upset that Jesus didn't come in time because Lazarus died? How many times have we done that? We've been upset because it's not within our timing.
Right.
But before Jairus could even react to the news of his daughter's death, Jesus turned to him. This is long before Jesus is even at the bedside of his daughter. Says to Jairus, don't be afraid, just believe and just have faith. He hasn't even got to the daughter yet, but he's saying to Jairus, your faith is going to make her well. And I thought, my father and your father over the years, in their inconsistencies, in their imperfections, my dad was like the prodigal long before he married my mother. Your father wasn't really living for God before he married your mother. Mm-hmm. And they went through some real challenging times as adults. There is no doubt about it. But I am serious when I say to you, I know beyond anything that I could even possibly say today that I am a living representation of watching the faith of my fathers. And I say two of them because I did have two dads. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that I could have been also that little girl sick. I could have had all kinds of problems. I could have been the one laying there. But on my behalf, my dad many times, even when I wrecked my Plymouth Duster, 1973, I didn't even have it 6 weeks, and I had a head-on collision on Pennsville-Pedricktown Road right there in Salem County. And the first hand that touched me around the corner, besides the doctors and the nurses and the x-ray technicians, when that hand reached around the corner and touched my shoulder, I knew immediately who it was. And it was my dad. He wasn't judgmental. He didn't say to me, how stupid of me to wreck my car. He didn't say any of that. The first thing he said to me, I'm glad you're okay. And I'm here and everything's going to be fine. So you can see why I relate so much to this story. Why are you making such a big fuss? Jesus said. She's not dead. She's just sleeping. And then their mourners changed from sadness to anger because they began to mock Jesus and they laughed at him. And who does he think he is? I can just see it right now. I think we can tell when someone's dead. Again, though, through all of this, Jairus is notably silent, holding on to every bit of faith and hope he has left in him. And Jesus took Peter, James, and John with him along with Mr. and Mrs. Jairus, or wherever they were, and went inside where the girl's body was laying. And then Jesus took hold of the girl's hand and said, Talitha cumi, which means, little girl, arise. And immediately that little girl got up and walked. And I want you to notice the reaction of Jairus and his wife and the 3 apostles. They were astonished. All the faith in the world cannot prepare you for the amazement when seeing the power of Jesus in action. So dads, wherever you are, go that extra mile for your kids. Do whatever it takes for their faith and for their comfort and for whatever it needs to be in their lives, but at the same time realize that the greatest gift that you can give them is that you're willing to run for their miracles. Well, Jeffrey, you're a good dad too.
Well, thank you.
And I've seen you run for your kids. And I love it. It makes me love you more. So here's what I want to say. Forgive me from all of my stuff that I've ever said bad about you. Because on Dad's Week, it's a celebration.
At least for today. Huh?
It's a celebration of Jeff Duffield and all the dads out there who do a great job.
Oh, you're funny.
And I want to say thank you so much, because that's Dad Talk for today.
Number 57.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. But before we go out, let me just say to you again, we are so grateful and so thankful. And if you would like to have a digital copy of the Subiquitous book, A Humorous Travelogue of an Unfiltered Saint, I will send every dad listening, if they would like to have a digital copy, absolutely free. All you have to do is contact us, radiosue@me.com, and I will immediately send you Subiquitous, A Humorous Travelogue of an Unfiltered Saint, and I think it will make you laugh. So, we going out on that joke? No, that's an old one, isn't it?
That's
what was the song, though, that today...
Father is
Father's Day.
No, let's not go there.
And we're giving you a tie.
That's right.
That's enough. All right, we'll see you next week. We love you, and happy Father's Day. We'll see you.